if your church is seen as a center or a hub of fulfilling a need for the community, it will break down a lot of barriers.
Hello and welcome to the Propel podcast, inspiration and innovation to grow your church. I'm your host, Larry Witzel. If God has given you big dreams for growing His kingdom, then this is the podcast for you. Our goal is to offer practical training for effective evangelism in the Seventh-day Adventist ministry context, but the principles we talk about are applicable in many other churches as well. So wherever you're doing ministry, welcome to the Propel podcast. If you're enjoying the podcast, please subscribe to our YouTube channel for more valuable ministry content. And don't forget to share this with your ministry colleagues. It's an easy way to show your support for our mission of driving more effective church growth. You can find the channel at youtube.com/@propelconference. This episode features Kathy Hernandez, who's the Ministerial and Evangelism Coordinator at the Southern Union Conference of Seventh-day Adventists. She holds a bachelor's degree in elementary education and a master's in youth ministry. And her calling in life has been to share the warmth of family with others while partnering in ministry with her husband, Roger. With over 2 decades of experience, Kathy has a special heart for teen girls and a deep passion for youth mentorship. Event planning and walking alongside young people have been at the core of her ministry journey. In this presentation, Kathy Hernandez shares practical strategies for organizing effective evangelistic meetings within the church context. She emphasizes the importance of creating a welcoming environment, understanding your community's needs, and preparing volunteers to engage guests meaningfully. I've seen firsthand Kathy's superpower of organizing and event planning, and I was so grateful when she agreed to share her knowledge and experience at this year's Propel conference. We're going to hear from Kathy Hernandez in just a moment. First, though, I want to highlight the sponsor of this episode, Evangelism. Evangelism helps local churches with their outreach efforts. They offer coaching, training, resources, and funding to help churches share the gospel in a way that connects with today's culture. Evangelism works with conferences, pastors, lay people, and evangelism teams to make a real impact in their communities. Pastor Roger Walter and other coaches have successfully guided conferences, pastors, and evangelism teams in making a significant impact in their communities. Their mission is to empower people with the passion and skills necessary to further the kingdom of Christ in the 21st century. And you can visit evangelistic.org to learn more about how they can support your ministry. That's evangelelead, EVANGELEAD.org, evangelistic.org, to learn more about how they can support your ministry. Okay, let's go to Kathy Hernandez, sharing in the Proclamational Evangelism Breakout Track at the 2025 Propel Conference. Her topic, creating an environment for evangelism, the mechanics of holding public meetings.
When you think of public meetings, you think of the speaker, you think of the handbills, but so often the details, the mechanics of putting together a series is very much overlooked. I am grateful that I get the opportunity to share a little bit of what I do. I get asked this question often by pastors, but now I get to share it not just with pastors, but there are lay teams together here. Is that correct? So it's great that you pastors have brought your teams with you, for those of you who have. And this is great because you're going to really appreciate the fact that I'm kind of sharing this with them, because they're going to be your right hand, left hand, people helping you out, right? All right, very good. So the purpose of this seminar today is a couple of things. First of all, I want to talk about how we can create a welcoming, spirit-led environment where guests move forward in faith and members build strong, lasting relationships with them. Because ultimately, isn't that what we want? Right? We want these evangelistic meetings to just be able to connect with our attendees in such a way that we are building long-lasting relationships, right? It's more than just them hearing the message and accepting it, but becoming a part of the family, literally, physically, like a part of our family, church family, and be connecting. So what I will do with you all today is kind of talk on that, okay? So We want to also help guests to move forward in their faith, and we'll talk a little bit about that, and build strong, lasting member-guest relationships. All right? Very good. So the first important thing that we need to do, and sometimes we don't do this, is we need to do some research, and then the giveaways. But let me start with the topic of the research. It's more than just putting out handbills and just hoping that someone will come, right? It's really important for us to study and do a research on the people in our community that we are hoping will come to our event. Find out who is your target audience. Who are you wanting to reach? Because everything after that kind of depends on that to begin with. If you are reaching a demographic that is middle to upper income, what you present, how you run your meetings, the program layout, your welcome area, the reception, everything is dependent on who your target audience is. We have made it a point in our meetings, and we've just started to do this now for the last year and a half, and we made it a point to reach people who are in need. Because, the Bible is very clear, right? If you feel a need, right, then people will come. God, that's what Jesus did, right? He always figured out a way to fill a need, and then people just came to him because he's always filling a need. It was a physical need of, maybe healing, or it was a spiritual need. They needed to hear, the new message, a hope, right? That they too, Gentiles, Jews, all of them could have access to heaven, to God, to be able to go to, to go to heaven or be a part of a community with God, right? And so Jesus met a need, and then people came. So we have made it a point to do a demographic study to figure out what are the needs of the people in our community. Oftentimes, we like to target young families, especially since most of the churches that we go to are becoming older and older and older. And the younger families are disappearing. And so we need more families. We need families with children in the churches. And so we make it a point to make a targeted effort to reach these families, right? Then we figure out what are the needs of these families in the area. Are they doing well? If they are, then do they need counseling on how to raise their children, or parenting classes, or do they need help, a parents' night out, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? Thinking about who is the demographic, who's our team, who's the group that we're reaching out to, and how do we meet our needs? We find the families, they're usually middle to lower income, and then we start targeting them. We do diaper giveaways or baby wipes. We'll do food giveaways. We'll do gas card giveaways. We'll do toiletries, laundry detergent. Laundry detergent is super expensive, right? Simple things like this. Hygiene. We will have toy giveaways depending on the time of year. If we're doing around Christmas time, or if we're doing around Thanksgiving, then we'll give a big basket, like a full Thanksgiving meal in a box. And we just figure out how are we going to target our community and what will draw them. All righty? We do targeted Facebook advertising to that demographic. And then we begin the process of preparing the volunteers and the whole church to be able to receive this demographic of people that we're targeting. All righty? So first, we figure out who are we inviting? What are they like? What are their needs going to be? And then based on that, we will select our leadership teams and so forth. All righty? All right. So when we meet real needs, we open real hearts. Compassion opens doors that information alone cannot. Amen. One of my favorite quotes is from Mother Teresa, and she says that there is more hunger in this world for love and appreciation than there is for food. So though we're bringing people with maybe a physical need, we know that deep down, there is more of a spiritual connection, compassion, love connection that they need. So we meet a need, but we're actually reaching the heart. Okay? All right, so now we begin preparing the leadership structure. We Preparation creates an invisible structure where the Spirit can work. So often, when I come to do these meetings, one of the things that I get, one of the main things that I get complimented on, and they say, it's so organized. Everything flowed. We all work together so well as a team, right? And I'm thinking to myself, why is this not happening on a regular day to day, right? And so it seems so foreign to most of the places that I go to. Like they're surprised that it could be so organized and run so well. And it's oftentimes we think the people who run the deacons and deaconesses on Sabbath will know exactly what to do during a week of evangelistic meetings, right? Or the people who do potluck, or who organize our food. It's the same thing. Whatever you do on Saturday morning will be exactly the way you do it on during the week of the meetings. But so often it's not, because we are dealing with our church members, right? That they go to this church, they've been members here forever, they know each other, they talk to each other. It's the same thing. It's like a routine. Versus brand new people who've never been at your church. They don't have any connections with anybody there. And so everything is brand new. So what you do from Sabbath to Sabbath doesn't naturally just, translate in what you're going to do for an evangelistic meetings. And so I have come up with, and let me share with you guys this handout. I've come up with I've come up with a list of committees that I have used over the years, and I go revising it, every single time. And what I do is I start out with these committee leaders, or these committees for my series, and then from there, I'll switch it, add, modify as needed for the demographic that we're reaching, for the evangelism plan that we're implementing. Let's see, do you guys see that? Here we go. Is that big enough? Let me see if I can make that a little bit bigger. All right, so we do a hybrid series, which means that whatever you're seeing on site, you're also seeing online. And it's not like a spectator sport hybrid series. Like we don't do it with like people just, they can tune in and watch, but it's an active participatory. In other words, we've got a host online talking to our online audience, welcoming them, putting things in the chat, repeating the points, selecting winners from our online audience. So it's an active participatory hybrid event. All right. So this is my hybrid series. And these are just some of the committees that I select. We got host, co-host, stage manager, program manager. The program manager is the person who creates the program, which I will share with you guys in a little bit what I use. We've got prayer, guest artist, host, because we bring singing artists, so we have somebody who hosts them, prepares a room for them, make sure that they're well taken care of, have all the information you need. Fellowship meal coordinator, media and audiovisual, including our virtual audience. We have an interest coordinator or a Bible worker, social media manager, church or community highlights person. That's a part of our programming that we do. Parking and security, registration, children's program, greeters, baptism coordinator, ushers and deacons and deaconesses, Q&A moderator, compassion project coordinators. So that's the project that I told you that we do a week of compassion. They coordinate all the giveaways and make sure that we've got it and we're prepared. This is just some of the committees that I felt like we really needed to have for an evangelistic meeting. All right, so this is just a sample of what I use, okay? Not completely extensive. You may have different committees that you use in yours that you're like, oh, I see something missing. Great. You do it, you add it, you modify it. But it's so important for the committee leaders to have an actual job description. Don't just assume that they know what you want. Don't just assume that they know the expectations of what you want to happen during the week of the meetings, right? Actually have a job description that you guys can modify. So the next point on that, on my PowerPoint presentation is exactly that. You select your committee leaders, and then you meet with them one-on-one over the phone, in person, and you go over that job description that I gave them. We go over it. Do you understand it? What do I need to provide for you so that you have everything you need to be able to, do this responsibility, For example, parking and security. Well, I think we need some safety vests. Absolutely, we need some safety vests. How about some wands? A walkie-talkie would be great. We need to have a security plan in case of where I live, there's hurricanes in Florida. In case of a hurricane, in case of a tornado, etc. So these are the things that we help them. We go with the committee leader. We help them understand their job responsibility. Once we've done that, then the next step is to hold a volunteer training. All right. So what happens? You have taken the time to talk to each one of your leaders very specifically and clearly what is to happen. Now they get together with their teams on a volunteer training day. All right. They all get together. You give some general instructions to everybody about the meetings, the series, what to expect, pre-registration, who our target group is, what our goals are to all of the volunteers. And then each committee leader explains what you just shared with them with their team. All right. This is what we're going to do. Who can be here on Monday? Who's going to be here on Wednesday? And so forth. And so you actually take the time to organize your teams. And so what's so cool is once everyone sees this master kind of sheet, the right hand knows what the left hand is doing. People are not, overstepping. Doing too much or doing things that are not in their area. The deacons and deaconesses do their job. The ushers and greeters, they do their job, and so forth. And so everyone, it seems like we're all in separate silos, but actually, no. We're all working as a smooth machine from beginning to end so that at every point, parking lot entrance, registration, the entrance to the room, the fellowship food, the children's program, it all works together as a smooth, well-oiled machine. I see you shaking your heads. It looks like it's sinking in, right? All right, great. So that's how this is the organizing for success part. Now, let's talk about the location. There are several schools of thought on this. Some people say, and it could also be very much related to the location in which you are located at, right? My husband and I, we lived here in the Northwest for 10 years. We lived in Oregon. So we know that it's a much more secular environment than where I'm at in the South, which is the Bible Belt, right? I'm down in, the Southern Union is all the 8 states of the Southeast United States. We're the Bible Belt. So in the South, people are used to being a part of the church. The church is a part of the local community. The church is important to the community, right? And so there isn't so much stigma, church and your community. Here in the Northwest, there may be a little bit more of that. I would tend to challenge you a little bit, though. If your church is seen as a center or a hub of fulfilling a need for the community, it will break down a lot of barriers. People are not going to be so like, oh, that's a church. I don't want to be at a church. They're going to say, this is an organization that is active in our community and making a difference. And a lot of those barriers will come down. So they may be more prone or more desiring of going to that church, your local church, if they see that you've been active in their community. So a lot of the walls come down. So, but some people say it has to be a neutral location. So some people might rent a gym or, rent a hotel, lobby, a ballroom or, whatever. Sometimes you get a whole district together, many churches together. They're not going to fit in a local church. You might have to do like a convention center or, like a conference or, a public school or a school like this where you're using their facilities. So, the location where you have this event obviously matters very much, right? So, couple of really important things about the location that I think you guys should know and keep in mind is the facility should be guest ready. Okay? What does that mean, guest ready? So use your 5 senses. All right? Use your 5 senses when you're trying to determine if this location is guest ready. What does it look like? Is it cluttered? Is it dirty? Does it look dated? Are things broken down? Does the landscaping need some attention? The lighting in the parking lot is not bright enough. And when people leave after the meetings, it's going to be dark and it's unsafe, right? Like, think about all of these things, the senses. How does it smell? When you walk in here, does it smell musty? Like, you've had like damage from the mold or rain or whatever. Does it smell like mothballs because it's an older church? Does it smell like, like a basement because, it's such an old church, or does it smell brand new? Or even is the smells too overpowering? If you've got too much, airspray kind of thing, or, to make it like smell good, maybe it's too strong. What does it smell like? What does it look like? When you walk in, what noises do you hear? Is it conducive for people to be able to mingle? And so on and so forth. And so facility should be guest ready. Also, accessibility, especially in the world that we live in, right? Must be a place that people who have maybe disabilities can easily access and be a part of your church, have a place to sit. Make sure that, in your fellowship hall, as people are coming in and they're in wheelchairs or they're in walkers, that you can designate a few tables specifically for people like that. So just keep all of these things in mind as you're thinking of the location. Make sure that the facility is guest ready. Clear signage. I cannot tell you how much this bothers me. Everywhere I go, it's not even at the church. If I'm at an airport and I cannot find something, I'm like, this is an airport. You should be telling me where the baggage claim is. You should be telling me where the rental car facility is. I should know by looking around, like, where's your signs? Where are the bathrooms? So for me, this is a big pet peeve. I think to myself, as a guest, I don't know anything, right? I don't know where anything is. And I should be able, just by coming in, being able to look around and have some sort of direction. And let me tell you this, if your facility is not the type that you can put up a bunch of signs because you rent, right? Like some people rent other facilities, it's okay. People can be just as good as signs. If you have people in the right directions, in the right location, with the right uniform or outfit that says, hey, by the way, I'm staff here. By the way, I can answer any questions. By the way, do you need anything? If you have people in correct locations, dressed like, oh, this is someone who can help me, they will work just as good as signage. All righty? So those are a couple of options. Safe and welcoming atmosphere. A safe and welcoming atmosphere. So, clean, well-lit, attractive settings communicate the guests are valued, right? All right. So facility setup, comfort, and connection. This is the first time guest perspective. See your church facility through the lens, of a first-time guest. So I've mentioned this before, but it's not just about like the facility here too, but also those who are working in their specific responsibilities. If greeters are at the door chit-chatting amongst each other and the people are coming in and they're not greeting, they're not doing their job, right? They get distracted. Or they're like, hey, can I go in now? Like it's 11 o'clock on the dot. Can I go in? When can I go inside and listen? Oh, how long do I have to stay out here? In the lobby, etc. And so we're always so quick to just drop our responsibilities, right? But that's so the opposite. Most guests will not come early. They'll come later. And so you really need to have the people there, right? So comfort, connection, entrance, seating, signage, ambiance, all of these things are super important for that. Alrighty. Now let's talk about registration. There was a gentleman who asked me about registration. Where are you? You're in the back, right there. All right, so I'm going to explain to you what works for me for registration. I have an online registration that people register ahead of time. It's called my pre-registration. I have a webpage that is called registerforhope.com. I currently have 3 meetings going on at the same time. And I just finished one. This one I just finished. This one I'm starting, and then that one's next week after that. So Titusville is my next one. And so if we go to pick my city, if we go to Titusville, this here has got like all my singing artists and, and like a slide deck, a picture deck. And then I've got the about, my series, what we're going to be talking about. The topics are right here. I'm not going to select each one because it's kind of slow and it'll take forever. The location, the map shows up, the host pastor shows up there, and then here's my register. Okay, so we go to the register, and then there I've got my registration. I collect that information on a Google Docs Excel spreadsheet. Super simple. Okay, very easy to do. And most of us have a Gmail address or work with Google or are familiar with Google, right? So obviously I have to pay for my webpage, and my designer sets all this up, but he's super chill. He does each one of my meetings for a very minimal price. And then I collect all of that information into an Excel sheet. I have the option, I have here like, each attendee 9 and older must register individually. We'll be attending these meetings online or in person. I have an online registration. I have an in-person registration. And then the rest, I'll do the in-person one so that you guys can see that. All right, so I collect this information from each person, and then that goes into my Excel. Now, this is information that is helpful for me, information that I will use afterwards. Right there. Okay, what days will you be joining us in person? This helps me to know. It gives a little bit of an idea, like to my people in the food, like, okay, when's this going to be a big night, and so forth. So this is information that is helpful for me. I really like to find out, how do they find out about the event? Since we use Facebook and we use handbills, this is the one we promote the most. Everyone, please invite a friend or family member. We sometimes do the radio station. Sometimes, the local people, the church members will say that they found out about it through the local church, etc., and so forth. So think about everything you want to collect from the people, because you don't want them to re-register and add more information and fill out something else and fill out something else. Oh, I really wanted to collect this. That's annoying. Nobody likes that. I don't like that. Do you all like that? No. But you don't want to ask so many questions that it's like, you feel like you're, doing a job, you're doing a job opening, right? You're applying for a job. We don't want that much. It's just enough information that will help you with what you need for your meetings. So this is the information that I collect. Okay. Now, along with this, I also do my Facebook marketing. Okay, that's totally different. That is not targeted to my church members at all. And that doesn't look anything like this at all. All I'm promoting is the giveaways. I'm promoting the diapers. In fact, while I'm talking about them, let me just show you maybe a few samples. I'm talking about, let me just show you. So these are the promotions that are going out. Notice it doesn't say anything about like the Hope series, because we don't want to confuse it. We just want to keep it very simple, very clear, but we are very open. We do let them know, okay? We do let them know that the event starts at 7. The diapers will be distributed after our 75-minute program, that they must be registered, first come, first serve, while supplies last. And let me tell you why I'm pointing that out. Because the first time I did it on the recommendation of someone else, they said, don't put that much information, just tell them diapers for everybody, 7 o'clock. And come. And that was disastrous for me. Disastrous. Because they were like, what? I'm not have to wait until after the meetings to get my diapers? And I was like, I would rather be very, very clear, very, very transparent, right? Not bait and switch people. Let them know what to expect. Once they sign up, and they text, then they'll get a response text message, which is very, very specific. It'll say, program begins at 7. A light meal will be served from 6 to 6:45. The giveaways will be given after our 75-minute program. Then it describes first come, first serve. And they'll say, come early. To make sure you can get, until supplies last. So make sure you come early, because it's first come, first serve, must be pre-registered. So they get the follow-up texting service. This is the promo for my guests. And then it goes to a texting service, which then I collect that information on another spreadsheet. So I've got people registering for my church on the Register for Hope, any of their friends and family members and so forth, they're registering on the Hope. People with my targeted audience are getting the Facebook ads, and I'm collecting that information. And then I'm very blessed to be able to, let me just show you a few others. Here's another one.
A quick question.
See, very, very attractive promo, yes.
For that diapers, first come, first served, do you
Put a time when they registered, when you draw, or how does that work?
So when they arrive, they get a number.
Oh, they get a number?
They get a number, a sequence, So those ticket machines that they used to have at the DMV before it became digital? Yeah, so those little I have one of those, and I just pull, and I say, this is your number, this is your number. And then, I write my starting number, I write my ending number. Today I started on number 54 and it ended up 75 or whatever. And so I'll say, okay, number 54, you go first. And so I just do it like that. They get a number. Now, what happens if people come and they're not registered? If I know that I'm going to have a huge, turnout, and I'll know because of how many people have registered. For example, we just did groceries in the Albany, Georgia area. 350 people signed up for that, of which 100 of them came. Can you imagine a church of 30 members on Saturday morning had 100 guests on Wednesday night? That was amazing. This Sabbath, they had 100 people in their church. The last day of the meetings. 25 people got baptized. Amen. Okay? Now this is a church that they're okay with people getting baptized and then nurturing them into the family of God. Some other churches will, that's just a starting point. They have all these guests and now they're going to work and nurture with the guests. This Wednesday, that Albany church that these ads were for, they have 45 people who signed up for Wednesday night prayer meeting, which is now going to be turned into the Bible study. Now they're going to have a church member sitting at a table with all the new guests, and they're going to be kind of like mentoring them and helping them with the new Bible studies. 45 people for Bible study on a Wednesday night, when before they could get 3 people out. And always the same one, and always the elderly folk, because they're the loyal, ones that can make it out, right? This is a huge transition for them, right? So this is a different way of doing evangelism. It's not, we do a 9-month process for those of you who heard my husband and he spoke about it. So we're asking people to do Bible studies with the children, with people in their community and so on and so forth, because we want people by the time the meetings come to be baptized, right? But this is also giving them a whole pool of people that they never, ever, ever knew, that would never have come out to their church otherwise. Now they're a part of that, okay? So, like I was mentioning, I've got that registration as well. Now, where does all this registration come into? I have a registration called Disciples. Disciples.io. Okay, Thomas Beale is the developer of Disciples, and this is mine because all these churches are my churches. These are all the churches I've done meetings at, and over the last 3 years or 4 years. All right, but if this is yours, you would only see your church. So I'm going to go to the Albany Emmanuel Church since that's the one I just finished doing. Okay, what happens is it's taking a minute to see the blue line. What happens is I give Thomas my Excel spreadsheet from Google, Okay, my sheets from Google. And he also has all of these people who registered to come out for the meetings. They all get put into the system. Okay? I create name badges for those only who registered through the Register for Hope. The people who registered for the giveaways, I will print their badge on site. I do not pre-print their badge. I did that at the beginning, but then you have like 300 names that you're printing, of which 100 come, and that's chaotic. Super crazy, stuffing and creating and then putting in alphabetical order, that's nuts. So I was like, I'm not doing that anymore. So then I just, if they're on, I print out the sheet that I get with all the people who signed up. When they show up, if they're on this list, they've registered. And if they're registered, they're in my system because that name got imported, okay? And so these are all the names. Can you believe that this church started with 0 a week ago. With between the members, look at this. Do you see this?
Yep.
There are 59 members. This is how many interests came, at least once, during the week. 364 people came at least one time during the week for them. It's amazing. So anyway, I then we create the event, and then here is what I do for registration. My registration is cloud-based. You don't need to download the software. It's all on disciples.o. You need to have computers, of course, some label printers, a scanner. And if you're interested in that, I can refer you to Thomas, and we can talk more details about that. I can't go into it all right now. But it's very, very easy. When the person shows up, we select the event. The children get registered here. The adults get registered here. You do registration. You select the night. These are all look at that. 129 guests came one night. You select the night 1, night 2 of your event, right? You select the night, and then you will create their name badge. You just put the first name, the last name, create name, and the badge prints. See, first name, last name. For the children, when you're putting the people in the children's event, I put their age, their allergies, and their phone number because that's important for the people working with the children. And then. Let me see, I have to do this. Let's just do, all right. And then it creates their name badge, and then I just hit Control P print, and it prints onto a label printer, and then I put it on it, and then I give them to them in a name badge. So this is how I do my registration. It's super easy, very simple. I like Disciples because it's extremely user-friendly. Like I said, I do 12 to 14 of these in all types of churches. I do it with people who are tech savvy. I do it with people who are like 75 or 80, helping me out in registration. So I need something, I need something to help me. It prints out like a barcode with their number. I need something to be able to help me be able to train my volunteers very easily. So Disciples is super easy. I know ServantView has a whole registration thing, and some people may use that. And if that works for you, great. Another one is Planning Center. Have you ever heard of Planning Center? Yeah. Planning Center, I use it for the run sheets. Okay, these are all my run sheets that I did. This is last year's series. This is what one of my run sheets looks like. This is my run sheet. All right, so I create my run sheets on Planning Center, but Planning Center also has a registration. You can keep all your members in there, and you can send out emails and texting service and all of that. That works out great if you like Planning Center. Not the most user-friendly. Okay, just so you know, it's a little clunky. You have to kind of get used to it. It took me a long time to learn and figure out how to create these things. Now I'm a pro at it. They've also made it a little easier over the years, but this is not the most user-friendly thing. And let me just show you how it prints out the run sheet for you guys to see it. It's really, really nice. So anyway, Disciples is one, SermonView is another, Planning Center is another. Is there any others that you guys know of? Any other registration or interest tracking software or anything like that for registration that you guys use? The old school, index card version, right? So let me just show you really quick what this would look like once I submit it. So this is what it looks like. It's really, really nice. And I put a lot of information on mine. You don't have to put this much information. But you see, I say, this is what the audio is doing. This is what the deacons are doing during this time. I'm super, super detailed. When I give it to the people, I say, this is what you focus on. Deacons, this is what you focus on. Ushers, this is what you focus on. And so it's just really easy for them to kind of follow. And I even give them the words, what to say, right? If it's not, they get nervous, they don't know what to do, don't know what to say. I give them some cues of what to say. And this is just a layout of how we do our programs, right? Okay, so let's go back to simplicity, follow-up friendly, which is what I told you that, it's like collect the information that you need so that you can follow up with what you want to do afterwards. And then one of the really important things about registration is there should be a personal connection. It's not just about the remote, your first name, your last name, I'm going to print a badge, here you go. It's like, oh, I'm so glad you made it. Oh, I love your name. Or I'll get that name badge for you right away. Or so glad you came tonight. Start calling them by their name. When you give them their badge, you say, Kathy, thank you so much for coming this evening. We hope to see you again. Make it a point, okay, to have people memorize people's names, especially as they're starting to come more and more each night. All right, so that's that one on registration. I kind of went a little bit into that because I think that's kind of an important one. The rest are going to be a little bit quicker. Refreshments or reception, it's the ministry through hospitality. I worked with youth for 21 years at my local church. If there was food, they came. And I started to realize it's not even just youth. I think almost anybody. If there's food, they come. And so often we forget to add this as a budget item in our evangelistic meetings. Food is an important budget item. People will come. Your volunteers will come, they'll eat, and they'll feel happy because they didn't rush from work all hungry. You don't have any hangry volunteers, right? At the door thinking, I'm starving, why am I here, right? No, you've got awesome volunteers who've gotten something to eat. Food is amazing. Food relaxes barriers, builds bridges, and sets the stage for spiritual conversations, right? And then, but what you guys need to do is choose the format that best fits your demographic and available resources. If it is a more wealthy area, a reception usually is nice. Some small finger food, people enjoy that. It's more of a mingling, walking around. The demographic that we just did in Albany, where it is a food desert. And on the night of food that we gave out baskets of food, we had so many people turn out. We knew that there were people who probably hadn't had a meal in the whole day. And so we knew that we needed to provide a full meal for them. All right? So this is why, again, it's good to know your demographic, which we talked about at the beginning. So what's the best? Okay, so what are the pros and cons of this, right? So the pros and cons of refreshments versus full meal. Refreshments obviously is less heavy. It's less volunteer time based, right? It takes less effort from a volunteer to do light refreshments versus a full meal. Obviously, right? Light refreshments is going to cost less, right, than a full meal. Even though sometimes you can get away with some very inexpensive full meals. Just do Mexican food. If you do Mexican food, you're going to have inexpensive food, beans, rice, tortillas, you're set. You can do that in all different ways. Tacos, haystacks, chilaquiles. You can do it all sorts of different ways, right? So, and people will be excited. They'll love it. So, you can do full meals pretty inexpensively and meals that are easy. A lesson learned at the last location that I was at here in Albany. They spent a lot of money on veggie meat. And when I say a lot of money, I mean a lot of money on veggie meat. And these are people who are there. This is not a veggie meat crowd. Okay? These are people who they're used to eating mac and cheese, hot dogs, burgers, lots of meat. This is a different demographic. And so they were very kind and at least ate half of it, but throw away about half of it because they gave sandwiches with sliced veggie meat. They gave hot dogs Yeah, those yes, the links. So now, right? It's very much an acquired taste. You might be able to do that with a higher, like a person of a higher money demographic, right? Because they might be interested in healthy eating, tofu stuff, trying something that's, plant-based versus eating meat. That might be an interest of theirs. That is their demographic, but it was not the demographic I was just at. And this poor little church of 30 people, they spend so much money on this. And I told them, listen, you might want to reconsider this in the long run. But they insisted that this is what they wanted to do. Trial and error, right? You learn. There's never no mess or everything that we do, whether it works well or not, it's always it's in the sense that we learn, right? We learn now for the future what works, what doesn't work, right? And they have learned. All right, so food, the difference, you have to, again, it all will depend on your demographic. All righty. Something that I think that is really an important job is called guest hosts. So we have the artist hosts, but we need to have, whether you call them row hosts or guest hosts, is super important as long as you can. If your church has enough volunteers, because this church of 30 people, they were everywhere. They didn't have that many extra people. But if your church can handle it, assign that job responsibility. All they're doing is mingling, sitting with the people, talking to them, getting to know them, eating together, right? Finding out about their families, sharing a little bit about them. This is so important. Food is such an easy way, over a meal, over food is such an easy way to make a connection. All right? So these people are not just servers, but they're conversation starters. That is their main job. Guest hosts, their job is to be conversation starters with people that are coming from the community. Okay? Now, how do we get our volunteers to go from volunteers to missionaries? All righty? From volunteers to missionaries. The 3-minute rule, okay? 3-minute rule is a simple rule that you as members should learn and you as pastors should drill and practice. Do you guys remember when you guys were little? Maybe you were going to have guests over, or you were going to go over to somebody's house as a guest, that you would tell the kids, they would tell you as a kid, hey, listen, we don't jump on their sofas, okay? We don't put our elbows on the table. We don't clean our face with our hands. Like our parents, hopefully, they took the time to teach us how to behave in the house of these guests, right? It's the same thing, but thinking about it in the other way. So you have the members, you have these guests that are coming. We are now training our members how to greet them, welcome them. The 3-minute rule, all right? You have 3 minutes, okay? Before, after, or during, but try to make it a point to have little moments, 3 minutes each, to do a connection with a person, speaking to them, getting to know them, inviting them back, giving them a hug, a side hug, or thanking them for coming, or it's so good to see your face again. Oh, you're part of the family now. You've come 3 times. You can't stop coming now. Like things like that. These are small conversation starters, but these are like touch points. Oftentimes we think that's the job of the greeter. And then they get the welcome at the entrance and that's it. When the people walk in, no more welcomes, and that's all. It's over. That was it. No, this is the job of everybody. All right, so let's ingrain this in the members, the 3-minute rule. You've got 3 minutes. And something that helps also in this is having consistency in the job, like who is at each post. If you have the same people at registration 2 or 3 nights in a row, they're going to remember the people. Versus you're switching out and it's like they're starting like fresh every single time. All righty? So having some consistency. Now, finally, how do we help our guests move forward spiritually? There needs to be clear invitations from all areas, not just an invitation to be baptized. Sometimes that's all we think it is, right? We're just inviting them to like give their hearts to Christ. No. There's so many other ways that we can invite people. Give me some examples. You guys come up with a few. What are other invitations that we can do, and other than just inviting people to give their hearts to Christ?
Bible study.
Bible study, all right?
Invite them to an interest-based gathering that's taking place.
Exactly, right? Your church might be having a fall festival, right? Your church might be doing a volunteer outing, right? Exactly. They don't have to be members for any of those above things, right? Just to volunteer, they don't have to be members either. But think of key things that you guys can invite them to. Oftentimes, the meetings come and they're done, and it's like, okay, whew, glad that's over. And then we just leave the rest of the work up to who? The Bible worker, the pastor. No. This is all of our work. It is all our responsibility to find ways to invite people back to different things, especially if you're doing those 3-minute connections, right? That you're doing that 3-minute rule. You're getting to know people. You're befriending them. Invite them to your home, right? Invite them to an activity. Invite them to something more than just the week of the meetings or the 2 or 3 weeks of the meetings that you guys have, right? And the key is to build the relationships over time. Right? You can invite them to celebrations. Mother's Day, we're having a Mother's Day, activity at the church. We're gonna, the men are having a men's outing. These are all things. In fact, all of the things that we do for church should be seeker friendly. It shouldn't be for us, by us, because my husband always says at the end it's just us. It's FUBU Church. For you, for us, by us. And at the end it's just us. Everything we do, men's outing, men's ministries, women's ministry, all of that is evangelistic. Every single one of those is evangelistic. And so keep inviting them. Keep inviting them. Keep inviting them. All right? This is a quote from my husband's book, Let's Get Personal. Relationships are the bridge over which truth travels. Without relationships, truth struggles to stick. Right? So, yeah, they can come and hear a preacher preach about our fundamental beliefs, but if they made no connections, no relationships during those days that they came for the 3-week series, they'll just come and go. When it's over, it's over. Right? The relationships are the bridges that we need to make. All righty? And my final thoughts for you all. Okay? Aim for every guest to feel loved and willing to return. Remember, I started out with that quote of Mother Teresa, there is more hunger in this world. All right? For love and compassion than there is for food. If we can love on our people, let them know we care about them. So glad they came. We'll miss you. You got to keep coming. Reach out to them, assign like a group of people to you that you are responsible for. That's now your little flock. Don't leave that all up to the pastor or even all up to the Bible worker. We should each have a little flock of people that we're mentoring, right? That is the goal. For every guest to feel loved and willing to return. And evangelism is about creating sacred spaces, not just events. All right? And here's my challenge. All right? If a prodigal walked into your meeting tonight, evangelistic meeting tonight, would they feel like they were expected? All right? Would they feel like they were expected? In other words, did we prepare our church? Did we prepare the registration? Did we prepare the refreshments? Did we prepare in a way that people said, wow, people thought about me? There was preparation made even before I came. Like they had a plan before my arrival. And it was just implemented smoothly, right? And so also one of the things that, I didn't add here, but after you finish a set of meetings, analyze what worked and what didn't. What can we do better? How can we tweak some of the committees and the responsibilities they do, right? Maybe we need to add another one, or just get rid of one altogether. Like that wasn't really working for us, right? So always be looking to see what can be improved for the next set of evangelistic meetings and so forth. All right? I think I've shared everything with you guys. And I do appreciate your attention, being so attentive. And now I'll take a few questions. All right. You had one first, and then I'll go to you. Yes.
Thank you for this. Very refreshing.
Okay.
To hear someone with the intentionality that you presented. I appreciate that.
I'm interested in many things, but I'll just hone into one question because I don't have others too. You had on your Google form
Yes.
all the nights of tell us when you're coming. In your experience with the response rate to that, are people often ready to commit before coming to the first night that I'll be there all these nights? I mean, I've often seen it where you try to get into the first night and then in the presentation and in the welcoming environment, then to try to get to the sense of being through the journey. Have you been registering people ahead of time?
You know, I'm going to be honest. I haven't really looked at it that way. I haven't seen too much of a problem. I can tell you that it's usually 3/4 will come of those who registered, and I can always tell by the amount of badges that are on the table. So I pre-print my badges the day before the event is about to begin. I close online registration and I only do on-site registration, and so I'll put out all the name badges all spread out on a table in alphabetical order by first name. By last name. So people will just come, find their names, and put on their badges. And I can usually tell that I have usually, like almost 90% of the time, 3/4 of the people will come on night one. Sometimes, if it's like, a fluke, like it was one of those like kind of long weekends and that first night wasn't a good start date or whatever, and it might be half, but about 3/4 of the people usually come in the first night. And I've got the rest of the other ones. Those people come like, I couldn't make it that night because I was out of town for the weekend, because we usually start on a weekend, and I'm back and I'll come during the week and so on and so forth. So
A lot of people ahead just saying, I'll be here on
these 5 of the 7 nights?
It's optional. Like they don't have to pick any. It's not a required field. So it's not like, if they don't select it, it doesn't make them. So they don't feel pressured.
Right.
So there are people who don't select it, and most people do. Honestly, most people do. And again, remember that this registration is more like for members. Okay, that we're doing, and their friends and their guests, versus like the people who I'm targeting, which is that group that I'm really doing my Facebook ads to, right?
They're only come when you're going to give them diapers.
Exactly, correct. Yes, that even if I came by and did an invitation with a handbill and said, hey, we'd love to have you out, and you were real friendly and all that, they're like, yeah, I don't think so. But most people, there's a need, they'll come. It's just the reality of the world that we live in, Jesus never judged the people why they came. He just knew that once they knew that they would be blessed. So, yeah. Yes, ma'am.
So when you do your diaper giveaway, how much do you have, such as first come, first served? Do you have enough for everyone that's registered?
So when they sign up, there is it's like a survey. So I ask them, how many children, and they'll say the amount. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'll ask how many sizes. So they'll do the drop down and they'll pick, because we've got all the sizes, from newborns all the way to 5T or whatever, for the toddlers, the pull-ups. And they'll select the amount. So I already know. So I'll look at it and I'll say, looks like more people with newborns are coming, so I might get more of the newborns, right? One of the things that we do, one of the nights is a leftover night. So, on everything that's left over, the gas cards, the diapers, the toys, the clothes, whatever we're giving away that's left over, we give it on one night. And so if we have extras, we'll have it. But then if when they come to the Wednesday night prayer meetings, now the Bible studies, if I have extras, I'll just give them access to the diapers. And they'll always have that. So, even if you buy too much, I always buy like a box extra, that versus less. But they will give you. It's a tricky formula. You have to think about a third or a fourth are going to come of the amount that say.
But you buy enough for everyone.
I do. Now I go to Costco or Sam's Club and I get the big boxes, and then I open the box and then I cut the bundles in half, because it's bundles of like 50 or something So I cut them in half and I give 25. So they still get 25 diapers. That's still pretty good. So they get like a half bundle, and that's how we do that. So we bundle them up, put the size on them with a Sharpie marker with like the saran wrap, and so we'll give them a half bundle. Some of them already come half bundles, but the ones that don't, we cut them in half when we do them in half bundles. So that's all right. This gentleman back here, and then you.
How do you research the needs of a community before you go? Number one. Number two, how accurate are the?
So. I do too. I do mission insight. I have this service called Mission Insight that we use that through our union has purchased it for all of the conferences at a special rate. And so we pay the majority of it and then they pay a portion of it. But the other thing is Facebook, and there's AI now, ChatGPT. You know, AI can give you some good information now as to like, you know, you have to feed it the right information. I'm doing a series on such and such date within this zip code, right? I'm looking to target, the needs of my community. What are the needs of the people between such and such age? You know, and it'll draw from a bunch of information. It'll get it for you. But if you have someone who does the Facebook marketing, that's their job. And their job is to do that. Now, I don't do that. I have a guy that I pay that does that. He does my Facebook marketing. He figures out, he asks AI, he also, asks Facebook through the AI, what are the needs in this community? And so that's what helps us to know that. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Social media manager.
Very good.
So community Facebook groups are great resources for gaining insights into community needs because people are going to be posting there. I'm looking for a church, or I'm looking for diapers, or I'm looking for food, or housing, or whatever. You can learn a lot about the needs that are current right now in any given community. Just to that community.
I love that. Thank you.
There's also is there an organization called the Buy Nothing Network or Gifting with Integrity, and so you are getting to know your hyper-local neighbors and their needs. And I've been part of 3 different groups, and the first group was mostly homeowners. The second group was mostly apartment dwellers. Very different needs.
Absolutely.
And so the apartment dwellers, they were needing more food assistance. And then if anybody had anything extra food-wise, they would share it with other neighbors.
Oh,
So
that's very nice.
Fascinating to see those community dynamics.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Yes, sir.
I noticed when you did your promotional things, you had about a dozen prepared ads or whatever.
Yes.
Do you make those available, like templates where you can put local information so they have to invent the wheel with some of those graphics and so forth?
So I do not, because they do not belong to me. My gentleman who I work with the Facebook marketing, he does them for me, but he uses Canva. Mm-hmm. And you can get a free version of Canva. And Canva, Canva. Canva is a software that it is. I don't know how graphic designers are going to survive if this thing continues to get good, as good as it is. I mean, they'll give you actual templates of things already done, and you just plug and play. Just pop in your information and stuff like that. You type diapers. If you want to do a handbill or flyer or Facebook ad, whatever, you tell it what you want. If it's a handbill, Facebook ad, whatever, they'll do a million things. But Canva, and you can get a free version of it. And you can create your own, and you could do it in PDF. You can send it to print right there from Canva. It'll send it to a place to print for like a discount price that they have with some local people that print. It's pretty amazing.
Okay, great.
Yep, Canva.com. I mean, that will take you to looking it out. Look at it and check it out, and And if you're not good at it, I'm sorry, are you a pastor or are you a church member?
I'm a pastor.
Okay, if you're not good at it, I'm sure there's plenty of members in your church.
My young adult.
Absolutely. There's no doubt that I'm sure they know about it, they used it, they're familiar, they'll pick up on it very easily. It's very user-friendly. It's become even more and more over the years, even more user-friendly. Yes?
What about budgeting for all this?
Yes. So with my meetings, I must be honest with you. It's a 3-part. So the union brings in some money, the church brings in some money, and then the conference brings in some money. So it's a 3-way collaboration for them. So I'm able to do things like bring in singing artists that are a little bit more well known that you all may not be able to do financially. But maybe your church can do that. Maybe your church can have a couple singing artists come out. I would say that your main focus should be on meeting the needs of your community. What does that look like? You could be doing it ahead of time, collecting that information, having them already come out for a couple of things so they know you, so that when you do it for the week of the meetings, they're like, oh, I know this church, I trust them, I know how this works. That's one thing. I would invest heavily in meeting the needs of community. That would be your greatest expense. The other thing is your speaker. If it's not your local pastor who's doing the speaking, obviously you're going to have to bring in a speaker. So there's that expense. And then the other things would be like the food, the refreshments, things like that. If you want to get t-shirts for everybody to be kind of like all uniformed, things like that. I can give you a sample Excel a budget that I do, but I mean that's going to be a little bit like whoa, like they've got 3 people giving money, but you can also modify that. But I've got like the key things. Yes, you can email me for that. Absolutely. So just send me an email and I'll work on that for you. All righty. Good.
Good job, Kathy.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you so much. You guys were awesome and very attentive and very inquisitive. And I pray that you guys can have success in your local churches. This is my passion. I love doing evangelism. I got hooked when I was young. I got baptized at the age of 15, and my dad made me go with him to give evangelistic, to do Bible studies. And so I was dragged along because he was going to women's homes by himself, and he didn't want to go by himself. Then he said, okay, now you're going to babysit the kids. And then he said, now you're going to give Bible studies to the kids. And then when the kids that I had given Bible studies to got baptized, I was like, oh my word, this is amazing. I was like, it changed my life forever. And so, I was new in the faith. I was just 16, but I started praying for God to give me a husband that I could serve with the rest of my life. And he was very faithful in doing that. Amen. And so I'm in my dream job right now. My dream job is to be just doing ministry in the way that I can do ministry. I'm very much the behind the scenes person. Like you will only see the fruits of all of my preparation. You're not going to see me too much in the front. I prepare the table for my husband so that he can just come and feed the people with the sermons and stuff like that. So, but I love doing it, and it's so important for you guys, the pastors, to have a team around you to do it. You obviously need to have the vision, but then implement, delegate. Have people do it, but make sure you're walking alongside them, training them, so that they know, so they feel empowered. Empower your volunteers. Empower them. The more empowered they are, the better they'll work for you. Amazing. They'll work amazing for you.
And the other thing is, once you do it, I'm telling my members, this isn't a one-off thing. Once we get this on and fine-tune and have the team raised up, we're going to continue this cycle year after year.
Absolutely. That's the way it should be. Exactly. Because all these new people then feed into the next series, right? They're going to get baptized at the next one and so on, and you get a bunch of new people, and then that's the way it should be. It's the evangelism cycle.
Something that stood out to me about Kathy's presentation was the dispersion of responsibility in public evangelistic meetings. She talked about having a structured approach to planning the evangelistic event with teams and clear job descriptions to ensure that everyone knows their responsibilities. So what about you? What's something that she said that you can apply to your own ministry? What's something that really stuck out to you? A reflection is so powerful, and it's really important to take a few minutes thinking about what you just heard to lock it in. What stood out to you from Kathy Hernandez's message? What was a big idea for you? And when this episode ends in another minute or so, please pause for 5 or 10 minutes, turn off the audio player, and just let your mind wander, reflecting on what Kathy just shared. It's a simple but powerful practice that can lead to breakthroughs in your own ministry. Well, that's it for this episode. We'd love to hear from you. You can send an email to podcast@propelconference.org. And please mark your calendar for next year's Propel Conference coming to Silver Spring, Maryland, April 12 to 15, 2026. Early bird registration is now open at propelconference.org. Special thanks to Kathy Hernandez for speaking at the 2025 Propel Conference and to Evangelist for sponsoring this episode. This has been the Propel Podcast, inspiration and innovation to grow your church. The Propel Podcast is produced by the Sermon View crew, and the event recording services were provided by Adventist Learning Community. I'm Larry Witzel, wishing you God's richest blessing in your evangelistic journey. Please join us again next time for another episode of the Propel Podcast.